This is Gary Atensu with CNTV, and today we are in Maine. I'm here with the pillless pharmacist. Since 2019, she has been helping women in healthcare activate their internal natural pharmacy with tools and technology so they can achieve clarity, energy, and inner calm at work and beyond. I'm joined here with Angela Orr, who is the coach, entrepreneur, CEO. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much, Gary. I'm thrilled to be on and to spend some time with you.
Excellent. I'm going to go back a little bit and start a little bit about yourself. You were formally educated with a degree in pharmacy from the University of Rhode Island. You are a certified practitioner from HeartMath Institute. You have served on the Dean's Council for the College of Pharmacy, and for over 4 decades you have worked in the pharmacy industry while owning and operating your own for a combined total of about 15 years. Share with me, first of all, how the passion to teach pillless began for you.
So that was a journey that I started on. As you said, I've been in the pharmacy industry for 4 decades, and I love being a pharmacist. However, my own journey started back in 2012-13 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And because of the stress of owning 2 pharmacies, it looked like I had everything, but I felt like stress was literally killing me. And at that point, I thought, life can never be the same. The good thing is my doctor told me I was an uninteresting case. So I guess it's a good time to be boring. And I started on, and I had treatment. It's been 10 years. So I don't like to say I like to say that I'm a victor. And so, but I started to look at things that would really help me with my lifestyle. Stress management, how I could really learn to do things differently. So I did a lot, and I learned a lot about how stress and the way that a lot of times we are in nowadays world, how that really affects your body and your health.
So obviously you're running 2 pharmacies. One alone is enough. Obviously your life was not boring. You were glad to be a boring medical case, but your life wasn't boring. In 2020, when the majority of the working sector shut down, the healthcare professional's job actually increased. In crisis or in regular time, is the healthcare profession a demanding one and with kind of unique levels of stress, would you say?
The medical field overall, yes, it became very apparent during COVID that, or in 2020 when things happened, that there was a lot of need, and not only need, but I think that people also realized, on one hand, they realized how much we need the medical care that we have in this country. And yet on the other hand, they also saw that, the healthier you are, the less chance of getting sick from things like that. So I think people also started to look at what they could do to help their own healthcare. However, there's been more and more stress on the healthcare industry because of increased demand, because people now also want to be healthier, but they want more services, and with pharmacy in particular. So I sold my second pharmacy just prior to 2020, and I went to work for the company that purchased me. So I do still work in community pharmacy, but part-time now. And but what we saw is that a lot of the responsibility of 2020 on testing, immunization, all of that fell on pharmacy without any additional staffing. So I feel like it's just been really very trying for a lot of people. And actually, healthcare and pharmacists in particular have a higher suicide rate than the general public.
We're talking about an eye-opening experience across the board in so many ways people didn't even understand. We've all heard the adage, stress kills. It's such a common saying that it becomes almost cliche. Yet, if not managed, can the energy drain of stress turn many to unhealthy vices just to cope?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times you have that stress. And if you know the term is 5 o'clock, or in mother circles, a lot of times it's wine o'clock. And actually, that's one of the things that I did is I was getting so hooked into that wine o'clock hour, even after a couple of years of not having the cancer. But I stopped with some of the tools and techniques that I teach. I actually stopped drinking almost 4 years ago, and I've lost quite a bit of weight. I have some more to go, but so I do the work myself. But what I found is that people use, you go home and you just are so tired from the day and drained that, it's easy to use some of these mechanisms, food, alcohol, drugs, perhaps, to really just kind of calm down, zone out. And even if it's not, even if it's not necessarily bad things, but prescriptions, people pop a pill. And I'm a pharmacist. I truly believe in medications, but I feel like sometimes even within the medical profession, it's too easy to just pop a pill rather than look at the root cause. And what people don't realize is not only could those vices really harm you, especially if you don't have a balance, which a lot of times you don't because you're in that fight or flight mode all the time, but the stress itself causes physiological, biological, and chemical changes in your body.
So it's not only too easy, but it's just too common as well. I mean, it is common for these professionals to turn to food, alcohol, caffeine, energy drinks, even drugs just to get through the day. I mean,
Yes.
are they taught that, hey, that's just part of the job and kind of what they've come to expect?
I think a lot of times it's just that so many people partake in that it's easy to just go with the crowd and do that, but I do see a change again since 2020, 21, especially 21. I feel like 21 was almost harder because we thought we'd be back to normal and we weren't. So 2021 was really a difficult year for a lot of people. I saw that with my colleagues as well as patients and, some of my clients. And what I think is that, is what we've learned, I feel like through part of this, or what some people are coming away from those years, is that there are alternatives, that it doesn't have to be, a wine o'clock, for your little daughter to, when you come home, say, oh, mommy, do you want your wine? Or, do you want a beer? And so people realize that is making our health even worse. So I've seen more and more people kind of shift to what are some other things that we can do to decrease that stress or not get to that point where you feel like you have to have one of those outside things.
I mean, it's quite a balance there. It's a fine line. And like you said, the 2020 was the crisis, but really the aftermath is when it hit us in the face. For someone who has been there and done that in the industry for over 4 decades, you say it does not have to be this way. You say our brain can turn on that natural pharmacy. Explain to us what we mean here.
You've heard of the placebo effect?
Mm-hmm.
So medications that we use, up to 40 to 50%, especially with the antidepressants or the anti-anxiety meds, those type of things, 40% is the placebo effect. And what the placebo effect is that people may not know is that if you take a pill, it may or may not be the pill. It may be your own thoughts about it. And so what I have just found is that, medications, as I said earlier, definitely have a place.
Sure.
However, if there's times that we can look at using something other than and I never advocate to people to go off medications just randomly or without their doctor. That's not, but if somebody, especially people who maybe don't want to go onto a medication or feel that maybe there's something else out there, because not to get too technical, but what happens in the body is that when you have stress all the time, you have an overproduction of cortisol. And cortisol is good, but cortisol can lead to inflammation if you have an overabundance of it. And when you have that overabundance of it over a long period of time, it leads to chronic disease. And it's estimated about 90% of doctor visits today are due to chronic high levels of cortisol.
Interesting.
So if we can naturally decrease that cortisol, which again, what I do is all science-based. So it's been scientifically proven that if you can get into a calmer state, or you can get into a state via different techniques or different things that I do, such as meditation, journaling, breathing, those type of things, you can actually regulate your nervous system. And it really is about balance. So when you're out of balance, so when you're in balance, and that's really what these techniques do, so that you can get your body in balance and not have to need the medication.
That is excellent. I mean, you really filled in the question mark for me of how this makes sense. But as you explain it like that, it kind of it makes all the sense there is. I mean, your brain does so much to anything that goes into it. I mean, like I tell my wife, it seems like I get more of a buzz from a glass of wine when I'm on the beach in Florida than I do when I take one on the kitchen. It's like nothing, you know? And so my mind really must be playing a big part there.
Yes, it absolutely does. So just to take it a little further, we all have genes. So genes are just, and everybody says, well, I'm a warrior because I was born with this in my genes. Well, genes are just protein making machines. But what turns a gene on or off, which is actually what a drug does, what turns a gene on or off is the environment. So the environment for a gene in your body is toxins, what you eat, water intake, or if you don't, toxins can be even not only chemicals outside, but it can also be like alcohol and things like that. And then the other big is trauma, you know, but the biggest thing that affects genes is your thoughts. And it's not even and this is scientifically proven. There are many, I work with HeartMath, which we have 400 published studies, and there's many studies out there about epigenetics, because epi is before the gene. So if you have negative thoughts, or you have really emotional things that happen, it actually affects your genes. So it's not even your thoughts, but it's your perception of the thoughts, because you can see something one way and I'll see it another. So your perceptions, and people don't realize that their thoughts are more powerful than they ever thought.
That makes sense for siblings who have the same genes, and yet people are affected so differently. You work with hardworking, high-performing women who are no stranger to moving up, being successful. Yet for some, like you, it was killing them inside. When you share your story, do many of them relate with that story?
Absolutely, because of course they may not have gone to the cancer, but that's what they think about, and they think about their children and what would happen if they weren't here, or if something happened to them. So, but they don't know how to get out of the loop. It's easy to get caught up in that loop. You know, you say yes to everything. You're the main caregiver. You do so much for so many, but how do you get out of that loop? And that's what I love about what I teach, because it's so simple.
Yeah, I mean, in this industry, is feeling tired from lack of sleep, overwhelmed, anxious, no energy, no clarity. I mean, maybe just a general feeling of not feeling good. Is that kind of the norm? And do most of them believe, I just got to live with this?
I believe that is a norm. And that's unfortunate, because you don't have to live with that. But so many women just feel that this is it and I have to accept it.
That's terrible. I mean,
and that is not the way that it has to be. And you can change it in 15 minutes a day or less.
Yes. I mean, for some like yourself, can this constant day in and day out of stress eventually take its toll, like you said, in the way of weight gain, heart palpitations, indigestion, just an overall lack of energy, and maybe sometimes even something more serious, like you said, for yourself?
Absolutely. It can definitely affect your overall health, because again, it goes back to changing your biology, your chemistry, and your physiology, because that's what you're affecting with all of this stress on you.
I mean, let's face it, these professionals are busy. So your simple yet profound techniques, along with advanced technology, I mean, this can help them in under 15 minutes of daily training. Are they pleasantly surprised that you can do this in a short period of time?
Yes, because sometimes people think, I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time, because I use a combination, but it's scientific meditations that I use. It's not just a regular. And then I use different breathing techniques. And then with HeartMath, especially, that's one of the organizations that I'm certified through. And their studies show that, as you just said, in 15 minutes a day, 1 and 1 is not 2, it's 3. So it is additive, but it needs to be on a consistent basis. And so anybody who tells me they don't have 15 minutes, and it doesn't even have to be contiguous, so it can be 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. So if they tell me they don't have time for that, I said, well, you need to do 30 then. Because it is life-changing how, when you can get into a heart coherent state, and that's, a whole nother discussion, but it goes back to the science, because it really is about, think about it. If you're in stress, you feel that fight or flight, and your heart may be palpitating, you're going all the time. Well, that was good back when we were running away from the saber-toothed tiger, but now we see our boss, our mother-in-law, our husband at times, or our kids as the saber-toothed tiger. Right. And we live like that all the time. And what happens, that increase in that cortisol, as I said, affects so many things, but it really starts and ends with the heart. So more information is sent from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart. And a lot of people don't realize that. And there's also through the vagus nerve, but there's also a lot of connections between the heart and the brain that are direct connections to various parts of the brain. So it's not like it goes up to the brain and then is disseminated. So that's why when you can get into a heart coherent state, or get out of that fight or flight, because heart coherent state is really about regulating that autonomic nervous system, as I was saying earlier. And when you can do that, those direct pathways into the brain, especially go to your higher functioning sections of the brain. And that's where you can get the clarity then, the making decisions easier. You don't feel that fog as much. You feel more rested because you can rest better, because your heart's not, and your mind isn't going 1,000, minutes, 1,000 things a minute. So having those changes, small as they are, implementing the daily routine can make a profound difference in how you feel, but how your body is functioning.
Heal the heart, you can heal the brain, and you can heal everything else. That is fantastic. I mean, you were able to unlock this inner harmony with one-on-one coaching, as well as in online master classes. So these are easy to access virtually to anyone from anywhere. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So I work, as you said, I do have one-on-one clients, and I really like to think of what I do as, I love the science of transformation, because transforming your life and transforming who you are to where you want to be can be a scientific process. So I do one-on-one coaching and mentoring. I really consider it mentoring. And I do small group programs. I'm actually starting one in January, but I'm going to be opening up in December. And then I have retreats. I've held some women's retreats here in Maine. Wow. So I do a lot of different things. And then I also speak quite a bit. I'm on quite a few summits. I'm an author in a couple of books, but a contributor.
Plenty of ways to get your help, obviously. Absolutely. For people. You provide a fusion of heart math techniques and meditation practices that really become a gateway for lasting change, not only for today, but it is sustainable. So these are proven techniques that you have seen work yourself. That has to be kind of exciting to watch.
It's so exciting, not only for myself, because I look at who I was, because it's not only how I felt back then, but who I was and how I am now, because I was one of those chronic warriors. I was born with it. My mother was and my grandmother was. And not that I don't think about things now, but I don't worry. I don't let things bother me that way. It's not important to me. What's important to me is in the moment and making a difference and making my impact. What people say to me, what people say. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm a different person. That's what I've loved seeing in my clients. I've had people. Somebody went off of insulin because they were able to regulate their autonomic nervous system, and they were able to, their biology changed. I had another person that was in a book club that I ran, because I run some book clubs with different clubs, and he went in a 7-week period from stagnation on his website to having 100 pages and 250,000 words on his website.
Wow.
Because of the way that I was able to facilitate and the way that he was able to think about things, able to get out of that stuck kind of thing.
I mean,
Area.
my wife wouldn't even recognize me after that. She might not call me the saber-toothed tiger anymore. Angela, Angela, these are women who are known for taking care of everyone but themselves. They sadly end up self-medicating in unhealthy ways. For most, what you offer probably sounds too good to be true. Is it rewarding for you to prove to them that it is possible?
I love it because that's what I'm here for. I feel that I'm here for impact. And I believe that for every woman that I can help, and, I don't do the work, they have to. So I don't do anything magical for you, but what I can do is to help teach you how to do it for yourself. But because of that impact that I can make on the women that I work with, and I do work with some men, I'm kind of am broadening a little bit because I feel like, okay, women is wonderful, but there are men who need help also. And because of the impact that I can make with them, it impacts so many other things. It impacts their life, it impacts their children's lives, it impacts their work. And I really love also working with conscious leaders. I feel like conscious leadership in today's world is so needed because you need to have people, I believe, that care about the community, care about the world, care about so much more than just themselves.
I did a lot of research because I wanted to bring this story out there to people. I think we did a great job of really going through the critical points. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is her website. On the website, you can see many of the ways she can help you, be it coaching, classes, or even a retreat. I mean, you deserve a break, and you owe it to yourself. Deep inner peace and calmness while having the clarity of mind and energy all await you. Literally just reach out today. Set up that phone call. Once again, that is Pillless Pharmacist, helping you activate your internal natural pharmacy so you can thrive at your peak, mentally and physically. This is Gary Atensa with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.